And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the recap of round number 5 from the Austrian Chess Championship. Today I played against International Master Laurenz Borrmann, who I've also played against last year, also with the white pieces. So let's have a look at what happened. Before we get into the game, I would like to remind you that there is actually currently a sale on ChessBase. So in case you want to get my courses or other courses on ChessBase, I have the King's Indian course from the black side and the Repertoire, so a full repertoire starting with 1 knight f3. If you want to get those repertoires or anything else, check it out. You have the link in the video description down below. I think they have the sale for about a week. Anyway, just wanted to let you know, if you want to get some courses, now is a good time to do so. So about the game today, Laurenz has a pretty good event so far. I think he was leading or co-leading the event before this game. I think he had +2 if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's playing pretty well here. But of course, being specifically, especially with the white pieces, it was finally time for me to show something. So I tried to get a fighting position on the board. I started with 1 c4 to mix things up, since previously I started my games with 1 d4. Laurenz went e6, knight c3, d5, d4, and now h6. And the funny thing is that we actually had this position also on the board last year, and I didn't really think that he would repeat it. So I didn't check this line specifically before the game, because I just felt like if he enters here, I'm going to be quite happy because I have many different options, and I've also played and analyzed this line quite extensively myself from the black side. Last year, I took on d5 and went for bishop f4. So since I was sure that he was going to have something prepared here, I played knight f3. And after knight f6, now the move e3, which I knew that it was possible. There was one game of Alexis Arana against Pentala Harikrishna, where I was a second for Harikrishna in, I think it was Tata Steel Vaikanze 2024. And Harikrishna actually won a game with the black side here. We had this move a6 as our preparation, and that's what he played. Sarana played b3, and then c5 was the whole idea. But I also knew that this is possible for white, and it is not entirely easy for black to equalize here if white knows the way. But Laurenz played knight b7, which I also knew was a possibility. Now I played b3 anyway, allowing bishop b4, but I thought that this was not too dangerous because I can answer knight e4 with queen c2. This is also what happened in the game. And he castled short. c5 may look tempting, but I thought that I can just go for a3. I guess it is also quite solid for black. He can take on c3 and I guess take again on c3. But at the same time, I thought I'm going to have some sort of lead in development because it's going to take him some time to get this bishop out. And if he takes on d4, I'm going to have a double attack. So I think he played pretty well, not only this stage of the game, but in general. He played short castle, now bishop d3, which felt extremely logical to me. But since, or looking back to how the game went, maybe I had better options. I'm now just considering if bishop e2 is an option. It didn't really appear to me whatsoever during the game, but in hindsight it would make a little bit of sense, because if he now goes for exactly the same like in the game, if he takes everything here and takes on c4, now I think I could take with the queen. And in the game my bishop was on d3, and there he would have the move c5, but here he doesn't, because now he cannot take on c5 since the bishop on d3 is not hanging. So I think this was one chance for me maybe to get something out of the opening. And I guess if c5, then I can just cast a short. But I played this move fairly quickly, just because it felt so logical to me. But I think after that I don't have any type of advantage whatsoever here. He took everything on c3 and now took on c4. And eventually I decided to take with the b pawn because I wanted at least some imbalance. But even here, black is just extremely solid after c5. The problem here after queen takes c4 is that now he can go for c5, and as I've mentioned, if I take, he takes knight takes c5, and now if I take, the bishop on d3 is hanging. I still considered playing like this and just castling kingside. c takes d4, queen takes d4. But I thought he can just go for knight f6 here. And while this may be some sort of small, tiny initiative for white, I didn't really believe in it because, I mean, black can trade queens, go bishop d7. I don't think I'm in time to get the rook in here. Like, he has ideas also to play with e5 at some point, maybe rook d8 now. And we were actually talking about this line after the game. Bishop e2, maybe e5 or just bishop d7 first. And if bishop f3, then I said that e5 is the problem. So I don't really see the idea here. Maybe there's something which I missed, but it just seemed like there's nothing going on here. So I took with the b pawn. He played c5. I castled kingside. In hindsight, I thought maybe I could go d5 here. But we both thought that he can take here and go knight f6. Now if e4, I guess just rook e8 is unpleasant, with e4 being weak. And also this position, if he takes with the knight or with the queen, maybe it is a tiny pull for white in this endgame because I have a nice outpost for the knight on d4, but at the same time black is extremely solid here. Maybe knight f6 back, bishop d7. It's hard to imagine that white has anything substantial here either. And maybe there are other options here as well. Maybe he could start with the move knight f6, that might be a possibility too. So it didn't feel right to start with d5. So I castled, but now he took. If he would have played b6, then I would have went d5 for sure. I don't think he should allow that. Because now, like, if he goes for this position, I think the bishop on b7 is just dead. And I can consolidate with knight d2 maybe at the right time, or just try to push e5 as well. And I don't think he will get any counterplay here because I can always just stop it with a4. But he took on d4, which was good. Took on d4 back, and now b6. And now I realize that I don't have anything at all in this position. And in general, I'm also not such a big fan of the hanging pawn structure because, well, long term, I'm actually worse if black can get the pieces to all of his perfect squares. And since there is a limited amount of material on the board, I also don't really have a lot of dynamics going on. So I played bishop e4. I didn't see like those breakthroughs with c5 and d5. I don't think they lead to anything. d5 would even weaken everything after knight c5. So originally I also thought that I could get this bishop c2, queen d3 formation, but I don't think I'm in time. Like bishop b7, queen d3, now knight f6. And if I get knight e5 and rook e1 combined, then I thought it's maybe a bit of something, but here after knight e5 there's bishop e4. And otherwise, if I go rook e1, then he can take on f3. So I don't think I'm in time to get this. So I played bishop e4, rook b8, and now went for a4, just trying to create a weakness on b6. He went queen c7, which I also think was a decent move. I guess he can also go for bishop b7 here, and also this position shouldn't be anything much. It is just extremely solid for black. I went a5, knight f6, took on b6. He cannot take on e4 because then the rook on b8 in the end is hanging, and I get a queen. So he took back, bishop c2, now bishop b7, and knight e5. And here I was actually considering that he could go for b5 here as well. He told me that only black is risking to be worse here, but I wasn't sure in the game, and still now I'm also not sure that is the case because, okay, I have to go c5, otherwise black is just a bit better after taking on c4. And now I thought b4. I would have probably went to e3 in this position because queen d3 runs into bishop e4. And, well, Laurenz said that the b pawn is not going anywhere, but it seemed like black has a very harmonious position. I don't have anything going on the king side. I think this f4, f5 plan is only creating more weaknesses, and at the same time black can try to push b3 even immediately. I also thought I shouldn't be worse here, like I can go rook b1 maybe. But maybe black can go rook b7, rook b8, and at some point b3. Like, it seemed like things could definitely also go wrong for me here. But of course for him as well, so I think he wanted to play more solid with rook d8. Now I played rook b1, pressuring the pawn on b6, rook c8. And now queen b2 was kind of an oversight. I did see knight d7, his response, but I missed something later on. If I would have gone for something else, then I wouldn't have had to defend some worse endgame. Instead, for example, a move like rook d1 is completely reasonable. Laurenz even said that I'm slightly better here, which surprised me because I thought that black doesn't have any problems. Like, I think he can go knight d7 after almost every single move. And he mentioned to me that after taking on d7, he was a bit afraid of queen d3 coming, but I think he can just go g6 and c4 is under attack. It's probably equal, but yeah, didn't seem like a lot of risk for black in general. Yeah, but after queen b2 he played knight d7, which I think is his only good move. Otherwise I can take on b6. I also consider bishop a8, which I think should also be possible, with the idea that now if I take, then the bishop on b7 is not hanging and he can take on d4. It would also be very equal. Probably I wouldn't have taken on b6. I would have probably gone rook d1 here in this position. Yeah, but knight d7 was then a bit unpleasant because I took and I kind of overlooked queen takes d7 because I thought that here I have the move c5, but I just don't think it really works here. After rook takes d7, I also thought that there was basically nothing for me here, or was there? Yeah, I think bishop a4 was what I was intending, and then he can go bishop c6. And it is basically also shake hands, like everything is just disappearing off the board. This is what I was looking at, but after queen takes d7, like my original idea was to go for the move c5, with the idea of queen d5 f3, but I missed that he can just take on d4. He can do it here or even in this position. Maybe this is a bit more precise or more forcing. And well, I'm just gonna lose a pawn if rook takes b6, rook takes e5, and all of a sudden I'm down a pawn. Maybe there's a better way for me here. Eventually I decided to take on b6 and then go into this worse endgame. At the very least, I was working on the 4 versus 3 for this YouTube channel. And by the way, funny side note, in a recent round in this tournament, Florian Schwabmeder, who I drew with 2 rounds ago, lost the f and h rook endgame. So I was thinking about my channel because, well, recently I made a video about that. In case you haven't seen it, go check it out, because as we will see, it does appear in many games. And of course, the same also goes for the 4 versus 3, which then I did not really have any problems holding, I think. Yeah, it's just good, I think, to get all of the, like, to get one pair of rooks off the board. That makes life a bit simpler for me. Yeah, and also to start with h4, just not to allow him to gain extra space on the king side. I was even considering if he could go g5 here first, but then I could play rook d1, and yeah. So yeah, then this happened, g3. I thought that the way he played at first was a little bit strange. Like here, he gave me the chance to play h5, which I think I could have and maybe even should have taken. Just to gain the space here. If he pushes the pawn, I'm happy to trade pawns, and if rook d5, I have rook a7. And yeah, if he goes f6, then I thought I can go either here or to a6. I didn't really think it would matter much, and I'm provoking e5, after which the h5 pawn is not hanging anymore. So maybe this would have been a simpler path towards a draw, but I didn't feel like calculating all of this. I just knew this setup is perfect for white with the pawns here, and that's why I just kept it going. Yeah, then he improved the position a little bit. I have to be careful here not to go h5 because of rook d5 when I'm even losing. So I just stayed, and at some point he pushed. f6, rook back. The only thing I need to be careful is that, yeah, I even provoked e4, but it's important that I need to keep my rook on e8, because otherwise he would have the move e3. And also here it's important that I go for this king f1 move, because, well, maybe I can also go for this here, but there is e3, and those pawn endgames are usually losing. At least I have no intention to calculate all of this. Maybe it is holding somehow, but like king d3, king f3, but there's just no point to enter all of this. So I went king f1, rook d2, back, and okay, Laurenz played a few moves, which is understandable. I would have done the same with the black side, just asking a few questions. And here I was actually, like, I could have repeated the position with rook f7, but I wanted to keep the rook on f8. I thought this was even more logical. I went king g1, and after e3 for a moment, I thought I blundered. Because after taking, I think if I go king g2 here, then I'm losing after king g4. Because rook takes g3 will come with check, and then the h4 pawn is also falling. So honestly, like, I was kind of lucky here to just have this move. I mean, on the other hand, also not so much, because the position is kind of a draw anyway, but it just kind of tells that I was not even seeing those ideas, which, you know, just tells again that I might not be in the absolute best shape here. Yeah, so I had king f2, and now I think that this rook f7 move is fairly important. At least I didn't see any other way for me, because again, if I go king g2, there's king g4. And if I try to go over here and give checks, then he can run in here. Maybe this is also holding somehow, but it is starting to look quite risky. Actually, rook takes g3 is just winning. What am I even talking about? This is just lost. So I think rook f7 is the only move. Yeah, with the idea that if he goes king g4, then I can always take. So here, eventually, he repeated the moves, which of course I was quite happy about, since I was already suffering a little bit in this endgame for some time, and you know, it seemed like the game was just not really going my way from the very beginning. He played the opening stage really well, and after that he just had a very solid position. I did not really expect this from him, if I can say that. I remember last year's game, like, it was some very positional and calm position, and all of a sudden he started to just create weaknesses on his own without basically any justification. So it was kind of my strategy for today to make the same happen, just to play solid, and at some point chances could appear. But I think he grew a lot as a player, even though his rating didn't. At least in this game, he showed that he can also just play really well, just normal positional chess. And I didn't really see, like, I'm still kind of shocked that I just didn't have a single real chance in this game. Maybe it's the openings which I need to change up. But yeah, after this move, bishop d3, I think it's just nothing. I would have needed to maybe go for his bishop e2, after which maybe it is something. But yeah, it was my day, but I am still staying optimistic. The tournament is still, there are still 4 more rounds to go. If I have a strong finish, it is still even possible for me to become champion. But for now, I will focus round by round, and tomorrow with the black pieces, I will give my best to score the first win. I'm saying this every single round, but I still mean it. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget about the ChessBase sale if you want to get any of their products. And apart from that, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the next recap.